Aloha. Today I'm here with Governor Ige and First Lady Dawn Ige in their beautiful office here at the state capitol as they come to an end of their 8 years here. And Governor Ige, you're many decades in this building. Just wanted to say how much we appreciate both of you and everything you've done for education throughout the years, and especially as Governor and First Lady. Just wanted to talk to you about some of the things. And I know you're both public school graduates.
Yes,
Pro City High School,
Absolutely.
Campbell
yeah.
High School
Can
and
you-
Mauna Loa High School, let's not forget them, as vice principal.
There you go. Can you talk to me about your upbringing in public schools and your teachers and what effect that they had on you?
Yeah, certainly. For me, I vividly remember virtually all the teachers that I had in public schools, from Pro City Elementary School to Highlands Intermediate, and then Pro City High School. You know, it was a remarkable time. It was a brand new school. As a freshman student, we were the very first students at Pro City. And it was exciting to be a student there because we created the foundation of all of the traditions and things that make up a high school, you know, from the alma mater to class songs and the student constitution and student government and everything. So, you know, the teachers, there were so many teachers that changed my life and that allowed me to become the person I am.
Great. And
You know, for me, I love my public high school years and my elementary years, but we often forget the middle school and the intermediate school. And growing up, that was my favorite.
Wow.
Because I was able to meet so many students from different schools, because that's how you get together. And then your subject matter, you're taught by your subject matter. So you had a lot of concentration on the English or math. And at that time, I'm going to age myself, we had home ec, which
yes.
I loved, and art and so forth. And the teachers were so dedicated to what they were doing. I was so impressed by that.
Absolutely. And it must have made a difference for you because you decided to go into education.
Yes, it did. You know, just watching the teachers and how they were dedicated to their areas of expertise just made a difference. Their enthusiasm, dedication, and it got me interested in different subject matters as well.
Oh, great. And so you became a teacher and ultimately an administrator, right?
Yes, and there were some challenging times, but you know, overall, the camaraderie and the support that you get in a school setting with your staff, among your staff, administrators, is something that I will always treasure for my entire life.
And, you know, it did help my perspective as governor. Clearly, I understood how important public schools are to our community. And, you know, the fact that I've said many times that teachers have the most important position in state government. You know, as parents, we entrust our children to teachers for much of the day. And as you guys know, teachers are expected to deal with more and more and more of the challenges that a student or a family might have. And so I do see how today more and more our community is relying on the school and the teachers and educators at the classroom, at the school, to really be responsible for much of the learning and the socialization that students get today.
Yeah, that's correct. A lot falls on the shoulders of our teachers, our counselors, and all of our school employees. I know that teachers supported you back when you and your family, you guys made a decision
Yes.
8-9 years ago that you wanted to pursue becoming governor of the state of Hawaii. Would you talk a little bit more about that?
We talked a lot about what the state of the state was at that point in time, and about whether we should step up to give the public and the voters a choice, but really because we felt that the things were not headed in the right direction. So, Dawn, maybe you want to talk a little bit about
It was a family decision, and you know, once David and I decided to pursue this, it became we had to include our 3 adult children And we had many family meetings to the point that we're tired of it. They said, let's just do it. And let's just go for it. And when HSTA came into the picture with their endorsement, it just made a big difference. The endorsement made a difference. The people made a difference. It just added so much more momentum and excitement to the campaign.
And in the very, very early days before HSTA made the endorsement, it was hard. We'd be talking to people and asking people for support. They were afraid because they didn't want to be taking on an incumbent governor. They were not so confident that we actually had a chance of winning. It had never been done. So the endorsement by HSTA was the first cornerstone, I think, of trying to get the establishment to recognize that we actually had a chance to win.
Many of our teachers were enthusiastic to be out there on the line with you because teachers felt disrespected. And that was just not a good time. And so to have someone with a fresh face who respected educators and education and the role that educators play was just a breath of fresh air. So we definitely were with the support of our president, Will Okabe, back then. So once you became governor, the rubber hits the road, things start happening. You did put together the ESSA Blueprint for Education team.
One of the things that happened in Race to the Top and No Child Left Behind is that in the drive to focus only on testing and results, many communities felt like they weren't engaged anymore. And we heard that. We had more than 40 community meetings. We did form an advisory commission or committee. Dawn was part of that. We got together all of the major players and stakeholders. And we went out to listen just about what worked and what didn't work. And, I think it was, they say that timing is everything, but with the change that occurred in the Congress, getting elected, being able to see and work to understand what the federal law was interested in, really gave us that opportunity to go back to the communities, to ask the question about why is public education important to you, what works, what's not working, what would you like to see more of?
Absolutely. And there were a bunch of things that were not working. And sometimes it was negotiation. So we appreciate you in 2017 coming to help us with negotiations. And we had over 90% settle that. And part of negotiations is always teacher evaluation. And at that point in time, we had this onerous teacher evaluation system, the Educator Effectiveness System, or EES. And First Lady, you as a vice principal at that time had to actually do all of those evaluations.
There were so many. I think the quantity and the volume and the length of those evaluations was just tremendous. I remember having to evaluate 40 teachers at one school, and that's a lot. It's scheduling, it's timing, and all of that. So, how can we need accountability for sure, but how can we do that in a way that is fair, that is efficient, and that we can do it in a way that is meaningful to both the teacher and the administrator?
I was Ways and Means Chair when that first agreement that HSTA agreed to the high stakes evaluation. And I remember talking to that previous superintendent explicitly, and I said, you guys need to get this right. Don't assign it to some educator bureaucrat and design something that's not workable. I said, you got to make sure that you're engaged. Don't let them do what the DOE always does, which is take an assignment and make it so unreasonable that it's not practical. And I said, that we're not going to have the money to implement this Cadillac, so start with that in mind. Simplify, recognize that you're going to be resourced. So it was frustrating as Ways and Means to see the exact opposite happen. the creation of this monstrous evaluation system that required 5 times more resources when the legislature gave the system essentially 0 additional resources. So the expectation was that they were creating this evaluation system that required 5 times more resources, but no additional resources came from the ledge. So what that meant was that every school would have to reallocate and take resources out of helping students and doing curriculum and all the resource teachers that support learning in the schools, and it was all applied to the evaluation system. So, every school ended up hiring 1 or 2 or 3 more vice principals because.
I forgot about that.
Yes, no. And that's, so I did have a different perspective. And obviously to me, the system was going down the wrong rabbit hole. I get it that evaluations are important. I think it's important that the teachers get feedback on how to be better. But the saddest thing that this whole episode created was that it diverted resources. It created this labyrinth system. It took so much more resources and we reallocated them. And then the saddest thing is that it identified less teachers that needed assistance, because it was high stakes. So the educator, the principal, the vice principal knew that what their evaluation had an impact on the teacher's pay.
Yes.
And there was a reluctance to say, OSA, you need help, because especially if it would withhold your pay. Yeah. So more teachers were identified as acceptable and doing a job rather than less. So it was a lose on all fronts. So clearly, when I became governor, I knew that we had to change. I mean, it did not make sense.
Yeah, we thank you for that. Now that we're on a 5-year cycle, it's so much less stress. So student outcomes were something that were important, and oftentimes student outcomes are affected by their environment. So very shortly after you became governor, HSTA had a new president, Corey Rosenlee, saying, we're in a wonderfully air-conditioned room now, but many, many of our classrooms were not. Here's a special message now from Corey, explaining the impact you had on the important air conditioning issue.
In your first year, Governor, was my first year. And you took on one of the big challenges facing our schools, and that was hot classrooms. You made it a priority in your first year to take $100 million, and with that, we were able to air condition 1,200 classrooms. But then I took one of your ideas, Governor. You wanted to use GEM funding to bring down electricity costs at our schools. With that, we were able to air condition another 1,000 classrooms. And just this year, we were able to get funding to do another 1,000. So as you're leaving office, most of Hawaii's hot classrooms are now cool so our students can learn. And on behalf of teachers and students across the state, I just want to say thank you.
I've certainly enjoyed working with Corey Rosenlee during my time in office. And remember, we had just changed the schedule, right, and started earlier. School was now starting in July, instead of late August. So we moved the school year to start in the hottest part of the year. And we had record temperatures that summer, which really exacerbated a lot of challenges. So, I was glad to make air conditioning classrooms a priority. And many people didn't think we could do it. To start a program from scratch and get it done we tried to be bold and say we'd do it in 12 months. It actually ended up taking about 18. But people didn't think that we could do it, and we were glad that we were able to get to the hottest classrooms, and we continue to air condition more classrooms as we've kind of progressed.
Absolutely. First Lady, you were involved with a number of education initiatives during your time as
Yes.
First Lady. One of them, we see when we have hungry students,
Yes.
it also affects student outcomes.
It began with, if a child is hungry, we can't expect them to really learn in a classroom, you're focused on hunger and fulfilling that. So that was an area I decided to focus on, and I started the initiative called Jumpstart Breakfast, because you need to start the day with a good, healthy breakfast to keep you going throughout the day. You know, we found that the state of Hawaii was second to the last in breakfast participation for free and reduced lunch students. So we wanted to work to increase that, and in doing so, we worked with No Kid Hungry, a national group that really had a lot of experience in that. And I had a community group made up of the food services people. Corey was on that committee. School people, and we came together to develop this program where we would look at possibilities of doing breakfast in the classroom, alternative models, because students weren't coming to school on time to eat breakfast. You know, we all rush. I was one of those parents that just rushing to get your kids out the door. So expecting them to come and eat breakfast is not realistic for many families. So alternative breakfast models such as breakfast in the classroom or grab and go breakfast, and this was before the pandemic, were things that we looked at. And several schools, several cafeterias tried that grab and go model. One school, Honowai Elementary, did the breakfast in the classroom for their K-1 classes, and it worked out very well. They saw not only those grade levels increase in breakfast participation, but the entire school did. So we saw some nice results in doing those models.
Absolutely. I know one of the other things that you really worked on was literacy.
Yes, we created an Ohana Readers Program. This is in partnership with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And Dolly Parton has this great program where kids between the ages 0 to 5 get a free book in the mail every month until they're 5 years old. Something that is age appropriate. It's a book that is rich in literature, words, and so forth. And they get this book in the mail at no cost. So with the support of the Department of Human Services, and several areas, Kamehameha Schools, the Kauai Utility Foundation, Charitable Foundation, we were able to provide books to kids on Molokai, parts of Kauai, and we just started the Big Island. So total books distributed so far for that program is about 10,000 right now.
Wow.
So a total of 12,000 books have been distributed at no cost to either schools or families.
And I just have to thank all the teachers and educators. I know that the last 3 years have been so difficult. We've had to totally revamp everything we did on a campus. We went from all in-person learning to all distance learning in a very short window. And then we migrated to hybrid and trying to figure out how to engage or, really make sure that students are progressing. And then we returned ultimately back to in-person learning. And, I'm proud that Hawaii ranked number 1 in terms of the fewest learning loss during this pandemic. And I just really want to thank all of the teachers in the classroom. I know that many difficult decisions had to be made, and I know that we were committed to keeping everyone on campus safe. But we also knew, and I heard from many teachers, that the best opportunity is to face-to-face classroom learning. And, the challenge was really about how can we make sure that the students had access to quality education during the pandemic. And all of the teachers really came through and were committed and willing to do whatever we needed to do to continue to educate our children. So
Absolutely. During the pandemic, when there were no revenue coming in, or we were very worried that there would be furloughs or pay cuts, and thank goodness that didn't have to happen. Mahalo for ensuring that didn't happen. As we come out of the pandemic, our teachers are so very, very thankful because we're finally able to address an issue that's been so long-standing since you were Ways and Means back then, and that's our salary compression, the compression on our salary schedule. Our teachers are so thankful that now, they are now going to see, and they are seeing in their paychecks a fix to their salaries. I've heard from teachers who said, you know, I opened my email and I saw what was going to happen and I started bawling, I started crying. Others who said, you know, I'm going to be able to pay for my college education for my child now. So many stories of teachers who this is making a real difference. And, you know, people don't think that government can work sometimes, but we saw legislators, we saw the Board of Ed, the superintendent, and yourself all coming together to make sure that this could happen and we can fix this longstanding problem. So mahalo to you, Governor Ige,
Well,
for making sure. And I know that this was something you're motivated to do as well.
Well, and also, you know, we've, through all the negotiations, we've identified these issues, and I'm really proud as governor, we were actually able to complete most of the big bucket list items that we were committed to. You know, we were able to deal with the evaluations and fix that. We were able to get away from this high-stake evaluation, which really wasn't fair to teachers when they're the only ones that had pay, you know, determined by student performance. You know, we were able to deal with a shortage and hard-to-staff positions because I knew that was important, and we saw year after year after year where we're having trouble with getting teachers out on lanai or, you know, in various areas, and unable to get special needs teachers and Hawaiian language immersion teachers. So glad that we were able to move forward with that. And then teacher compression, and you know, I heard over and over again about, you know, that we were doing okay with starting pay for teachers, but as teachers spent time in the system, that they were falling further and further behind teachers' pay in comparable school districts all across the country. And it broke my heart to see teachers have to choose to leave the state because they could get higher pay, especially when they get to, you know, 10 years of service or 15 years of service. So, you know, I'm glad we had a general agreement about trying to get this compression taken care of. You know, we didn't have we were ready. We thought we had the revenues. The pandemic happened and the budget cratered. You know, I'm glad that we were able to pick up on that proposal and finally get it implemented. You know, I know that teachers make a difference in our students' lives, and I'm glad that we will have been able to complete all of those big items that we recognized were challenges to getting more teachers here. We still have a teacher shortage challenge, but hopefully all of these things will help to create a pay structure that I think is commensurate to all of the dedication and hard work that so many of our teachers dedicate to our students and our families all across the state.
Yes. So your time here is coming to an end. Some reflection, we've done some reflection, but what are your thoughts on the future, especially the future of public education in Hawaii?
You know, I am excited about the future of public education in Hawaii. You know, I'm a total public school product as well as Dawn for the most part. And, you know, we understand that it is the foundation of our community. You know, the state is in the best financial condition it's ever been in our history. So we will have the resources to make a difference. You know, First Lady has always advocated for early childhood education. You know, and we're committed to public pre-K, you know, and we know that it makes a difference. We see the differences in the students, you know, the students who were able to attend pre-K programs and the students that were not. And we believe that all students should have that opportunity to be in preschool, and they really should be part of our public education systems. We've helped with adequate pay for this period of time. hopefully we'll be able to attract the teachers that we need. You know, we have a commitment, and I've been driving the university to produce more teachers. You know, we've had this shortage now for more than a decade.
Yes.
And certainly the university is suddenly realizing that they need to do more to generate the teachers, because we know that homegrown teachers are the best. You know, they're the ones who committed to our community. They're going to stay with us for the long haul. And I really do believe early college, and appreciate your support and the teacher support for early college. I know that some of them are teaching college courses, and you know, students having access. We are seeing more and more students graduating with college credits. And most importantly, especially for those at-risk students, and you know, we are teaching them and giving them the opportunity to take and succeed at college credits, because a lot of them don't believe they're college material. You know, and we see immigrants coming here and being able to earn Associate of Arts degrees. You know, we see so many students now as part of the early college program. So, you know, I do see a lot of promise in the future of public education here. You know, I think that we put the foundation blocks in place, and I'm just excited about the opportunities that the sound financial condition of the state will give us in the next few years to make a real difference in this community.
Absolutely. You know, when we were campaigning for you in 2018, I came up with Ige, integrity governs everything. And, you know, I believe you've been a governor of great integrity, and we appreciate so much everything you've done. Mahalo to you, First Lady, for everything you've done as well. And we wish you the best going forward after December 5th. Mahalo for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.